In a world where the dead never stop coming and the living are pushed to their limits, every moment becomes a battle to stay alive. Heroes rise, humanity falls, and survival is the only law that remains. This is where every zombie story begins. Welcome to the ultimate zombie recap season. And today's film is the sequel to Train to Busan, titled Train to Busan 2, and the story begins 4 years after the fall of Busan, where all of Korea has collapsed into total anarchy under the zombie plague, and our protagonist Jung Seok, a former soldier, is driving his sister's family toward the last departing cruise ship when a desperate woman carrying her child tries to stop them begging for help, but Jung Seok coldly refuses and continues to the pier where he boards the ship with his sister's family and is assigned to a cabin the cruise is meant to sail for Japan, but a soldier suddenly informs him that they are diverting to Hong Kong, and when Jung Seok questions the captain, he is harshly ordered to obey. Meanwhile, inside the cabin, something is terribly wrong, as a man bends in an impossible twisted posture, revealing that an infected stowaway has slipped aboard, and by the time Jung Seok returns, blood is splattered everywhere, and rushing to his sister, he sees people bitten, including his young nephew, whose mother clutches him in mute terror. Knowing he will turn within seconds, Jung Seok tries to drag his sister away, but she refuses to abandon her son, and just then the bitten man transforms and attacks, forcing Jung Seok to empty his pistol and flee, sealing the cabin door, while his brother-in-law Jamin arrives, and together they watch helplessly as a swarm of zombies devours Jung Seok's sister, and the scene cuts to 4 years later with Jung Seok and Jamin now struggling to survive in Hong Kong, burdened by guilt and resentment as Jamin accuses him of not saving his sister, while locals treat them with disdain until one day a gangster approaches Jung Seok with a dangerous offer to return to Korea and retrieve a truck loaded with $20 million. Since zombies have no use for money, the gang had previously sent men who located the truck but were all killed on the way back, and Jung Seok is promised half the cash if he succeeds, so he agrees, and Jamin Huishu and Minhu join him soon, boarding a boat that brings them to the offshore boundary, where the gang hands them weapons and satellite phones before they head to shore. In a rubber boat, the coastline is silent like a graveyard with crumbling buildings and no sign of life, and while searching for transportation, Minhu opens an abandoned car, finds the keys still inside, and they all climb in as Huishu begins driving using the same steady skills she had back when she worked as a taxi driver before the world fell to the zombies. Suddenly they spotted a truck, and Jung Seok stepped out to inspect it, only to realize the license plate didn't match what they were searching for. And just then, a strange noise echoed from a dark corner, and fearless as ever, he moved in to investigate, peering through his night vision scope, only to freeze as countless zombies stared back at him with hungry eyes, forcing the group to move on until they finally located the correct truck under an overpass, unaware that someone hidden in the shadows was watching them through binoculars. And when Jamin opened the container, they were stunned by bags packed with cash, and as they went to the driver's side, they found a corpse slumped in the seat. But when Jamin tried to pull it out, the dead driver suddenly snapped his eyes open and lunged to bite him, causing a struggle that accidentally triggered the truck's horn, and Jung Seok shot the driver just as swarms of zombies began racing toward them, drawn by the sound, because although they were blind at night, their hearing was razor sharp, and Jung Seok fired non-stop, but the horde was too large, so he climbed into the truck and fought them off until both vehicles began speeding down the road, while Huishu excitedly dreamed of becoming rich, when suddenly a flare shot up ahead, blinding them in the darkness, and the zombies charged toward the light, forcing them to flee, but the horde completely blocked the road, and as Huishu crashed through several zombies, the car spun out of control, and the truck behind them couldn't brake in time, slamming into them violently, throwing Jung Seok out by sheer inertia, while Huishu died instantly, and the rest were badly hurt, as zombies kept closing in, causing Jamin to hide inside the truck, while Jung Seok ran for his life, until he encountered a girl named June, who dispatched zombies with ease, while a little girl sat in the passenger seat, as June drifted through the streets, smashing zombies like obstacles, until the tossing knocked Jung Seok unconscious, and the car eventually reached an overpass where another massive zombie wave blocked the road, and the little girl calmly pulled out a remote-controlled toy car, blasting lights and music, sending it straight toward the zombies, who immediately chased it as she drifted the toy around, luring an entire swarm away. Once the zombies followed the bait, the car shot forward, smashing a few stragglers aside and escaping. Meanwhile, Jamin was still trapped inside the truck as zombies swarmed around it until an enormous advertising truck rolled past, distracting them long enough for several armored vehicles to pull up, and a rough-looking group of men stepped out, and when Minhu climbed from the cab to beg for help, they noticed he was infected, and their leader killed him on the spot before taking the truck and leaving, and Jamin, who had no idea what was happening outside, was captured along with it, Jong Seok woke up to find an old man standing over him who turned out to be Jun's grandfather, and moments later, a woman approached and Jong Seok immediately recognized her as Min Jing, the same woman he had refused to help on the road, and she had survived the apocalypse with her 2 daughters, and now they took Jong Seok in while the old man continued broadcasting radio messages begging for outside rescue. Meanwhile, Jaemin had been dragged to a brutal camp run by a group known as Unit 631, who were once regular soldiers, but after the outbreak were abandoned and left to fend for themselves, turning into savage zombie hunters who built their own defenses and scavenged from corpses to survive, becoming worse than the zombies themselves. And this was the place Min Jing's family had escaped from. And once they found Jaemin inside the truck, they tore off his clothes, spray-painted numbers across his chest, and threw him into a container filled with silent, naked captives, all squatting in fear until the container door swung open, and they were herded out into an arena resembling a twisted coliseum where crowds roared, cheered, and placed bets as a countdown began. And then the passage opened, unleashing a swarm of zombies that charged at the helpless prisoners, tearing many apart in a violent game of survival, until time ran out and music blasted, while a man in a glowing suit appeared, leading the zombies away, leaving Jaemin trembling but alive and tossed back into the container, where guards threw a few packets of instant noodles, which everyone fought over, and the ruler of this territory, Captain Shu, sat in his room exhausted with life and moments from suicide, when a knock came, and one of his men handed him a bottle of foreign wine, and while he reconsidered ending his life, he also heard about the truck, and went to inspect it, finding the satellite phone, which rang unexpectedly, and when he answered, the man on the ship assumed he was part of Jong Seok's team, and told him that whoever brought the money could board the ship and receive the same reward, prompting Captain Shu to accept immediately as it was his chance to escape, while Jong Seok's group believed Jaemin had already been killed and planned to steal the truck at night and drive it to the port to reach the ship. So after Jong Seok awoke at dusk, they prepared their weapons and set off, telling Jun to wait in the car while they slipped through a hidden passage back into Unit 631, the same place they had escaped before, and after silently eliminating a guard, they spotted the truck as Captain Shu addressed the arena through a loudspeaker, assuring everyone they had plenty of supplies and could enjoy the night using the crowd's distraction as cover while he prepared to flee in the truck. But Sergeant Kim had already sensed something was off, and by the time Captain Shu returned to his quarters, Kim was waiting, though he still couldn't pinpoint what was wrong. Captain Shu walked into the room using the loudspeaker noise to hide the satellite phone glowing on the table, when suddenly one of his men entered, unaware that Sergeant Kim was already inside, and while Kim questioned him, Captain Shu quietly drew his pistol behind his back, but Kim misunderstood the situation, thinking they were having a private moment, and politely excused himself. Meanwhile, Jong Seok and Min Jing had reached the truck and were preparing to escape when Shu's men approached, forcing Min Jing to hide in the cab and press a gun to one soldier's head, only for 2 more guards to appear and question why he wasn't at the show, which he brushed off with a flimsy excuse. And then the guards mentioned that the man caught earlier was incredibly brave in the Coliseum, making Jong Seok realize Jaemin was still alive, and he sprinted off to save him. The moment he left, Captain Shu arrived, recognizing Min Jing as someone from his past, but without warning, he pulled a gun on her, so Min Jing slammed the truck into reverse, knocking him down and retrieving the satellite phone from his body as Jaemin continued fighting for his life inside the arena with a zombie lunging straight at him, only to be shot down as Jong Seok burst in, wiping out the entire pack before throwing a smoke grenade and dragging Jaemin out. But on their escape path, armed soldiers blocked their way, opening fire, forcing Jong Seok into cover just as a zombie leapt at him, and Jaemin grabbed a fallen rifle, firing wildly at the soldiers, before tossing the weapon to Jong Seok, who used it to finish the attacking zombie. But Sergeant Kim, hidden in the shadows, shot Jaemin dead, and as Jong Seok battled the remaining soldiers, Kim aimed again until Min Jing rammed her truck through the room, giving Jong Seok a chance to jump in and escape. At that moment, Captain Shu awakened outside, watching helplessly as the truck sped off, and Kim assembled his men to chase, while Jong Seok's truck was soon trapped by a tidal wave of zombies piling against the front, ready to drag them out until June appeared, drifting her car in with blinding headlights, pulling the entire herd toward her, and Min Jing slammed her truck through the swarm, while the old man in the back launched fireworks to distract the rest, allowing both vehicles to race toward the port, only for Sergeant Kim's convoy to catch up, firing flares that lured more zombies toward Jong Seok, trapping him beneath an overpass, where he blasted at the windshield as zombies shattered their way inside, and Kim's car crashed into the horde, unable to reverse, leaving him to be devoured. And once Jong Seok broke free, he grabbed the satellite phone and contacted the ship just as they reached the docks, when suddenly Captain Shu rammed his vehicle into Jun's car, dragged her out, and took her hostage. At this moment, the little girl sent her remote-controlled car speeding straight into Captain Shu, and he turned his gun toward her, firing as the old man threw himself forward to shield her, taking the bullets in her place and collapsing, while Min Jing grabbed grabbed a weapon to fight back, only to be shot in the leg again, and Captain Shu scrambled into the truck, fleeing in panic as he drove away, fantasizing about his future life in Hong Kong, before steering the vehicle onto the ship where the gangsters greeted him coldly and without hesitation shot him dead, because regardless of who retrieved the truck they intended to kill them all, and with his last breath, Captain Shu knocked the gear into neutral, causing the truck to roll back out of the cargo bay and jam the door just as a massive swarm of zombies stormed the docks. While on the shore, the dying old man gasped for breath as the sound of a helicopter filled the sky and the little girl fired fireworks upward to catch the pilot's attention, and Jong Seok lifted her in his arms, racing toward the rescue point with zombies converging from every direction drawn by the explosions until their numbers became overwhelming, forcing Minjing to drag herself into a truck and slam the horn with everything she had, pulling the zombies away. While Jong Seok reached the helicopter with both children, the girl begged the rescuers to save her mother, but they refused to move, and inside the truck, Minjing prepared to sacrifice herself rather than slow them down until the sound of Jong Seok's gunshot cut through the chaos, reigniting her will to survive, and she fired wildly at the charging zombies as Jong Seok rushed in through smoke bombs, and together they burst through the haze and escaped to the helicopter, lifting off at the last possible second, ending the story. And as always, Korean cinema dives deep into human nature, and this film is no exception, weaving together the cruelty of Sergeant Kim, the treachery of Captain Shu, the courage of a mother fighting for her daughters, and a protagonist whose motives sometimes clash with his heroic image. But that is just my personal take. And if you enjoyed the recap, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time. Up next, things get even crazier. The zombies hit harder, the escapes get tighter, and the twist is even more insane. And trust me, if this story shocked you, the next one will absolutely blow your mind. It is already on the channel, so go check it out right now.